I turned the record on. I got that figured out. So we got the recording going on. Let's see. Yes, got the recording going. So I will try to stick with you and follow along with what I have to cover here right now. Okay, so let's begin. I want to share with you a little bit about getting started in this arena because I've spent a number of years working with HR directors. When you were, and I started out my career in the employee benefits business, and so I dealt with exclusively C-level managers who made the decisions as to do the business that we were doing, and then I had to work directly with the HR director to implement the programs that we put in place. And so I've got a great background on working with C-level managers and also working with people in the HR department. And I'm here to tell you that those are two completely polar opposite personalities. Okay? The person who is a C-level executive or C-level manager is not does not have the same personality as the person who is an HR department manager. They're two completely different personalities, and you've got to know what you're doing in order for you to be able to deal with them. And so we're going to talk about that first. The very first thing that you need to do is you need to educate yourself. You need to educate yourself so that you are familiar with that world, so that you understand those two different categories of people. The C-level executive is concerned about making sure that they make money, that everything that they do is profitable, that things work, and that they streamline processes, and that they can add to their bottom line. And any decision that gets made, that's what they're focusing their attention on. They want to make sure that comes across, and that they add to the bottom line, that they're a highly profitable company. And the HR director is very detail oriented. They follow a very, okay, question here. What is C level? C level is anybody has a C in the front of their title, like the chief executive officer or the CEO or the chief marketing officer or the CMO or the chief financial officer, the CFO. And so that's a C level manager. And those people have a focus. Their focus is making sure that there's profitability in the business, that they reduce the risk as much as possible, that they that they give the right attention to things that actually add to the mission of the business. HR director has a different focus than that. They're both necessary. They both make the company work the way it's supposed to work, but they have a different focus. And the HR person is very slow, very methodical, very, very consistent, very process oriented. And so when you're dealing with them, you want to tone it down a little bit. I talked this morning in my live feed about the difference when sometimes you need to turn it up and sometimes you need to tone it down. With the HR director, you want to tone it down just a little bit. You can be the most exciting person in the room, but you can't blow that other person away. They've got to follow along with you. They've got to be able to stay where you're at. So you need to educate yourself. You need to get familiar with this. And I'm going to show you some places to look in just a little bit. But if you know people who are C-level managers, if you know people who are C-level executives, then sit down and have a conversation with them. Take them out to lunch. Visit with them. Get educated. Understand where they're coming from. Make sure that you are prepared to talk the talk that they talk. Talk to them. Ask them. I'm going to cover some questions in just a minute, but I want you to understand you're going to have to deal with that world. If you're going to pursue this, you're going to have to learn how to deal with that world. And it's different. It's different than the internet marketing arena. It's different than what you've been used to. And I'm going to show you several ways that it's different in just a minute. But think about this. A sales funnel works really well in internet marketing. Works really well. You know, we've got the tripwire, we've got the all the stuff that we do in an arrangement like that. And so we got a tripwire, we got a process that we go through, and we've got a sales funnel, and we have a one-time offer, and we have an upsell. And I'm going to tell you what the C-level executive and what the HR director thinks that is. It's bait and switch. That's what they think. So you want to take a different approach to that. You can't use terminology that we're used to using, like gamification, because the first thing that goes through that C-level, or that first thing that goes through that HR manager's mind is that this person is talking about somebody coming in and playing Tetris on their phone. That's not what we're talking about, but that's the connection to gamification that they have. So you want to educate yourself. You want to make sure that you're not putting yourself in a position where what you say becomes an offense to the people that you're trying to talk to. As Ted's saying here, you want to make sure that you adapt to your surroundings. And this is completely different than online marketing. And so not everybody's going to be prepared to do this. And we can help you get prepared for it. But not everybody has the background to be able to do this straight out of the box. And so what I wanted to share with you today is for all of you to understand that the first thing that you have to do is educate yourself. You've got to start going through the process of educating yourself and making sure that you're prepared for this, because this is going to be different. This is going to be different. Getting the question here asked by Craig, is there a minimum size of businesses that we should focus on? And now I'm going to give you a better plan, because right now, until we have some pieces in place, not a good idea for you to start focusing on trying to close sales right now. Not with this, because we're not ready for that yet. We will be shortly. We're on a deadline. We're running up against a tight deadline. I'm going to give you something better than than focusing on a minimum size of business here in just a minute. So hang on just a second. Let me see if I've got any other questions here. I don't want to blow past the questions, but I want to make sure that we keep our focus where it belongs. Okay? All right. So the first thing that you want to do is educate yourself. You want to educate yourself. And when you educate yourself, you're learning the language, you're learning the problems, you're learning the questions, you're learning the challenges that they face. And that's what you want to do at this stage of the game. You can start that today. You can start that right where you're at. You can begin to talk to people that you know. You go out to eat dinner tonight. You can talk to the restaurant manager and ask him when it would be a good time for you. You got some questions that you're not trying to sell him anything. You just want to ask if you know him, you want to ask his opinion about some things, and start educating yourself right now, because educating yourself is going to do way more for you than anything else that you can do, because you only get one chance to make a first impression. Now, this is different than normal. I usually tell you, man, just go out there, plunge in, get it done, so start talking to people. But this is a little different. I want you to make a good first impression the first time out of the gate. So we're going to take a few days here. We're going to get educated. All right? That's the first thing that we're going to do. Second thing that we're going to focus on is we're going to focus on what kind of questions do we need to ask. What kind of questions do we need to ask? And there's something that I want you to get right now. When you start talking to C-level executives, you start talking to HR managers, make sure that you do this. Never mention ever lesson. You're not there to pitch something to them. Don't pitch anything to them. They're used to people wanting to pitch something to them. Instead, this is your opportunity to ask questions, so that you understand what their problems are. You understand what their challenges are. And I'm going to tell you where you need to focus your attention. Write this down if you're following along with me. Write this down, because I want to make sure that you understand this. Their concern is about the experience for the employee. All right? Their concern is that they want to make the employee experience as simple and as easy as possible. So your questions need to focus on the employee's experience. So what are you doing right now? Is your employee orientation, is that a manual? Is it done with paperwork? Is it done with, do you take a line manager off and have him walk that employee through the process? How do you do it now? Do you have a digital process that you do it now? Do you have a proficiency exam that you use? What is it that you're doing now to help your employees to get up to speed and to be in alignment with the purposes and the goals and the objectives of your company as quickly as possible? You want to ask those high level questions. You want to get to the heart of how can I help the employee? You're thinking in the back of your head, how can I help the employee to have the best experience that's possible? What kind of questions do you need to ask in order to do that? Because there's something I don't have an illustration for this right here, but there's something I want you to understand. That employer knows. He knows that if I can get my employees happy and healthy and on the job, if I can keep them happy, if I can keep them happy, because they know what to do next. They know what's going to happen. They understand what their benefit package is. They understand what the expectations are. They understand what to do if this happens. They understand where to go and who to ask and what to do. If I can keep them happy, they tend to be 55% more productive than they are if they're unhappy and confused. Do you realize what that is? That's adding an extra 30 minutes of productivity to every hour. Does that mean something? What do you think? At this point, Vicki, even at this point, I don't want you to talk about Everlesson. I want you to talk about them. I want you to ask questions about them. I want to make sure that they know that your concern for them is that they're able to feel that you want to help them help their employees. Everlesson will be the tool, but it's not going to be the topic. Okay? Did you get that? Somebody make sure you write that down. Everlesson is going to be the tool, but it can't be the topic in this discovery process as you talk to employees or employers or HR managers or C-level executives. Can't be that kind of thing. It's just going to be the tool, not the topic. The tool, not the topic. So you want to make sure that the bottom line is what you help them to focus on and make sure that that's clear. Okay? So we're not going to mention Everlesson. This first week or so, we're not going to mention it. We're going to talk to people, but we're not going to tell, hey, we got the greatest thing on the planet. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to find out what are your biggest challenges. Because remember, a business is solving other people's problems at a profit. So we got to figure out what those problems are. And you've got to get yourself thinking about what those problems are. And you got to, as I told you before, I told you this a long time ago, you'll be better at thinking on your feet if you get this information and you spend some time thinking on your seat. Because as you think on your seat, it makes you more capable of being able to think on your feet. So we want to make sure that we ask the right kind of questions. Checking out here. You're right, Craig. There are several pieces. And as you educate yourself, you're going to discover that there's lots of pieces. There's the recruitment piece. There's the new hire piece. There's the employee orientation piece. There's the advancement piece. There's lots of bits and pieces to this. And you have a huge opportunity here. But you want to make sure that you understand the problems, the challenges, the frustrations that they face, and make sure you understand it from the employee's perspective. So as you're asking questions, are your employees comfortable with the program that you put them through now? Does it get them up to speed at the rate that you would like for them to be up to speed? What would you change about it if you could change something? What would you do differently if you could do something different? How much flexibility do you have in your current program? And is that flexibility capable of being able to accommodate the 22-year-old who's just entering the workforce, as well as the 45-year-old that has been in the workforce for 20 years? Do you understand what we're doing? We're getting familiar and comfortable with the world by asking the right kinds of questions. And you keep asking those questions and you keep going on. Here, Todd's making a comment. You need to find out what their goals are as well. Yeah, what's your goal? What is their goal? Does your employee orientation help move you toward that goal? Are they in alignment? How are you going to be able to accomplish those goals? And you want to make sure that you have perfect alignment with that before you ever mention every lesson. I know this is different. This is different than what we've been talking about before. But you've got to understand, this is a very, very wonderful world to be involved in, but it's different. Okay? What are the problems that they're having? Those are the kinds of questions, as Todd's mentioning here, those are the kind of questions that you want to get answers to. What are their goals? What are the problems that they face? What are their challenges? Ron is saying it exactly right. This is the time to learn your client and discover their needs. And if you'll hold back on talking about what you have until you understand what they're facing, it'll make all the difference in the world. Okay? All right, I'm watching the questions here. Exactly. David's nailed it. The more information you have about their needs, the more capable you are of meeting those needs. If you don't understand the needs, you're going to be talking out of your hat. And nobody needs to hear that. It's not going to help you at all. So you educate yourself, you figure out what questions to ask, and as you ask the questions, you figure out what other questions to ask, because there's always questions behind the questions. And you keep taking them, you keep going through a process, not an interrogation. Understand this. You start to interrogate that HR director, she's going to freak. You start to interrogate that C-level manager, who's going to shut down or shut you down. So you just ask questions to inquire. You're inquiring. You're trying to help. You want to discover something. You want them to help you. Todd's nailed it right here. You got to understand this. Even when you have the answer, tell the client, I'm going to get back with you. I've got a couple of ideas. Let me take those ideas. Let me work with them. Let me test them out. Let me figure out what's going to be the best before I try to give you an answer. Because that's really good conversation to have with that C-level executive. That's a really good conversation to have with that HR manager. They understand that. They don't plunge in here. They don't make a decision because there's a deadline today. They don't have a launch deadline that they're working with. They're going to move slowly and methodically. They're going to move deliberately. They're going to take their time. They're going to make the right changes at the right time. You're there to solve their problems. You're there to be a problem solver. And you don't even offer the solution until they know that you've taken some time to deliberate about it. So we're asking are there discussions regarding bringing Everlast into the corporate world rather than the internet marketing world? That's kind of what we're trying to gather here, Carmen. That's one of the things that we're focusing some attention on. So yes, I appreciate that. But there's some conversation about how to do that. Best saying we need to learn to listen. That's exactly right. I'm going to look through these questions real quickly here before we move to the next piece, okay? Yeah, Todd's right. The fact is, understand this. If you're familiar with internet marketing, you're not going to be as familiar with this. There is a sales cycle involved. And it may be that they're not even going to talk about this. They're going to make a decision about it until October. It may be 6 months. It may be 9 months. There's a sales cycle that's involved here. And all you want to do is you want to be in the cycle. All right. They can't make. You're dealing with budgets. You're dealing with people who have who write the checks. You're dealing with boards of directors. People who there's a lot of moving pieces to this, and rarely can the person make an immediate decision. Okay. So you're exactly right. It may take more than 6 months to close that, and that's important. All right. Todd's saying it's all about filling the funnel. Different than your sales funnel, different than your OTOs. This is all about filling up your pipeline and making sure that you've got a pipeline of opportunity. So if this person says, look, we don't even consider that, we start thinking about that in July. And you say, okay, when would be a good time for us to have the next conversation? You want to have a conversation in June, or you want to have a conversation in July? When's a good time that we do this? And so you start filling that funnel up. This is not, I'm going to be in front of them every 5 days, because you want to find out what the cycle is. You want to get in the cycle. You want to do it properly. And you want to make sure that you do it the right way. Okay, we've got a comment here. The search function on the web finds all kinds of things. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, okay? Where do you look for information? So, yes, Beth is correct. There's going to be a few presentations involved. There's going to be a few opportunities to have conversations leading up to that ultimate presentation. And so that sometimes is a long process. All right. I'm nervous about getting IT involved, which is my experience as soon as HR is interested. And Tony, that has to do with some things that we'll address at a later time. Okay. I don't want you to miss out on the opportunity, but I want you to understand this is the time for you to start educating yourself. This is the time for you to start learning what kind of questions to ask. And you begin with the people that you know. That's where you start. Todd, you've got a good point there. We should start figuring out who our competitors are and what their capabilities are. And that's right. As you move beyond that, 65 employee and up, then we start to run into where there's a lot there gets to be stiffer competition in this. We start looking at what is it that the competition offers that we might not be able to offer. We start putting those kinds of pieces together, and we start figuring out what our competitors are. But I think even prior to that, Todd, we start figuring out what people need, what's their issues, what are they looking at, and then we start working on that. Okay, Chad says I built a mock-up for a local clinic and I made that mistake. Not sure what the mistake was, Chad, but yeah, hey, we've all made that mistake. We've all made a mistake. We planned something out, not knowing thinking that we had the solution, not knowing what the real challenges were. That's typically the mistake that most of us have made. Ted says in the UK the financial year starts in April for most companies. Just before and just after is when they have the most money. And it may be a money issue, it might be a cycle issue, it might be they don't hire employees. Except we've got some employers right here that don't hire people except for a certain month out of the year. And they so that they can do their orientation and they can work them through that process and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of things that are involved in that sales cycle. Yes, we need to size up the market. You're right. All right, let's see. Yeah, that was Chad Gilbert. Correct. All right, so we're going to educate ourselves. We're going to ask certain questions. We're not going to make any presentation. We're just going to ask questions. We're going to figure out what the challenges are. We're going to figure out what the problems are, what things are being faced, that kind of thing. The next thing that we're going to do is understand that marketing is different. We've been used to marketing things on Facebook, and this world isn't on Facebook as much as they're on LinkedIn. Okay, so marketing is going to be different on LinkedIn than it is on Facebook. We take a different approach on LinkedIn than we take on Facebook, and we got to get comfortable in marketing on LinkedIn as opposed to marketing on Facebook. And we've got to understand the challenges that are associated with LinkedIn, because I'm telling you, when I was calling on people in this arena, when I was calling on C-level managers and I was calling on HR directors, I had an alert set up on my phone so that every time somebody looked at my LinkedIn profile, I would get an alert. And I have a little bell that would ring on my phone every time that alert would go off. And so I would go talk to a manager. I would go talk to an HR director, and my phone would go off before I would get across the parking lot. They were checking me out. They had gone in and looked at my profile. And so you got to make sure that you're ready for that, because that's different than what you've been used to. Okay. Tony, that's a good question. We're going to address that. Actually, we're going to, there's a handful of us that are working on addressing that right now, because there are some performance guarantees that we've got to make sure that are in place. And I can tell you right now, downtime is a very, very big issue when you move into this arena. So you're right. Rose is saying you need to polish up your LinkedIn profile. Absolutely. You want to make sure that you have a good LinkedIn profile and that it says the things that you want to properly represent you. Um, that's where you're going to find HR directors. I'm going to show you in just a minute about that. You need to start connecting with the industry that you're targeting. Absolutely. That's one of the first things that you want to do. You want to figure out where you're comfortable at, where you're not comfortable at, and you want to take that approach. And yes, HR is going to review your profile. You can count on that. You can count on that. So how do we learn about marketing on LinkedIn? We have some people, we have some connections. Chad Nicely, would you mind answering that question? We have some connections with people who are really, really good about marketing on LinkedIn. And maybe Chad can share a resource with you that can do that. Now, right here we said Carthy already said that they will guarantee 99.9% uptime when they go full SAS or SaaS. Understand this. Do you know what 99.9% uptime is? And I understand that, and I agree with that. I honestly believe Carthy can fulfill that responsibility. But do you understand how much time that is? Because you need to know that. That's 8 hours in a year. That's 8 hours in a year. And so, so you need to have that. You need to have that little conversation. You need to make sure that you're comfortable understanding what that is. So here's Chad's response. Amina, yes, she can do that. She's got training programs on how to market on LinkedIn, and that's the resource that I was talking about a minute ago. You want to join the appropriate groups, or you want to create your own. That's exactly right. And let's see, is there anything else here that we need to talk about as I move to the next one? But understand that the marketing is going to be different. This is primarily not marketing on Facebook. It's primarily marketing on LinkedIn. You'll actually find that many of the people who are in that arena may be in businesses where if they logged into Facebook, they would be in trouble. Okay? I've worked in buildings where if somebody in the building logged into Facebook, the HR department would know that. So we got to make sure that we don't get ourselves in trouble for that. All right. So we want to focus our attention on LinkedIn, because that's where we're going to find the people who are working in this arena. All right. Question Tony's asking here is Chad's reference for LinkedIn marketing. We'll put that in. We'll post that in the group. That may be the best way to handle that. We'll just post that in the group later on. Okay? All right. Anything else here? Yes, Facebook may be blocked on their server. Absolutely. Chad says I'll have her do a webinar. Good. Okay. All right. Now, the next thing I want to take a look at is we're going to wrap this up in just a minute here. So thank you all for your comments and your questions and all the things that you're providing as we're going through this. The next thing we want to take a look at is that marketing is different. You need to market it on LinkedIn. And then finally, where are you going to look? Where are you going to look for that C-level person? Where are you going to look for that HR director? How do you go about doing that? So if y'all can see my screen okay, I'm going to switch over to LinkedIn for just a moment. I'm going to switch to the advanced LinkedIn search feature. Okay. And I'm going to type in this case, I'm just going to type in the words, I'm looking for HR. And I'm going to locate that person. I'm going to locate HR people within a 100-mile radius of my zip code. Okay? Are y'all with me? Let me know if you're with me here. All right, good. Okay. And so I look down through this list here to see who I might know, because I might find somebody that I know. So let's just do my first line connections, and we'll do this. And Sinitra Blackburn. Sinitra Blackburn happens to be a good friend of mine. I haven't talked to her in a couple of years, but Sinitra happens to be a friend of mine who lives in Birmingham. And so now I have somebody that I can talk to. I could call and say, Sinitra, if you got time for lunch, I would like to talk to you about something that we're working on, something that we're working in, I'd like to get your input and your feedback and help me to understand the challenges that people face in HR and get me up to speed. I need your help. So I look at my resources. Do I have a resource here? If I don't have a first level person, then we're going to add a second level connection here. And we just start working our way through this list and start talking to people and figuring out what it is that they do and where I might be able to connect with them and who it is that I already know, somebody that I could connect with and get answers to some of these questions, so I can figure out what questions to ask and figure out what challenges that they face. Does that make sense? Are you following what I'm saying here about you're going to have to work at this. This is not going to be easy. This is not going to be handed to you on a silver platter. You're going to have to market in a different place. You're going to have to learn how to ask different questions. You're going to have to learn how to present in a different manner than we've been typically used to doing as we work in the internet marketing world. Suzanne saying that it's lots of work and I don't know people. You might be surprised who you know. You know a department manager someplace, or you know an HR person someplace. You know an office person someplace who has the ability to be able to have a conversation with you about the questions that we're asking. I guarantee you do. I know you do. If I had your Facebook group, if I had your LinkedIn, I promise you know somebody who fits in those categories, and that's the place to start. If you don't know anybody, then work with this and get up to speed, and don't go out and try to sell a big case immediately, because that's not going to help you, and it's not going to help them. Okay. Free account's fine, Tony. You can get by with a free account. You don't have to have a professional level account on LinkedIn. You just simply need to be able to work the account. You've got to have good contacts. You've got to reach out to the people in your community and the area around you. There's lots of ways that you can do that. You can have a business owners meetup, and you can take that approach and start to ask those kinds of questions and get to know people there. You can go to local networking events. You'll meet people if you go to job fairs. Is a good place where you can go and you can discover HR people at job fairs. There's lots of places where you can go and begin to get that type of information. I would seek out job fairs. Your local employers are going to be at job fairs, and they're looking for the opportunity to be able to hire quality people. And so you'll have a chance to have a conversation with them. Pay the registration at the door. Go in, collect business cards, talk to them later. Tell them that you understand that they're busy, but you want to have a conversation with them at some point. Introduce yourself. Get comfortable in that world. Okay? Does that make good sense to everybody? Todd says also the recruiting business. Let's see. Lots of IT recruiters and onboarding systems that need onboarding. So that's exactly right. Startup companies, we have a startup company here in town that started a year ago. They now have 13 employees, and they just won an award for being one of the faster growing IT companies in town. And they're ready to triple their size. They're going to need some help in this onboarding arena. So you begin to get comfortable with those people. By the way, that's a cybersecurity company. So there's some pretty detailed onboarding that goes on in a company like that. But get comfortable talking to those people. Get out in the public and find out what they're doing, and you'll come in contact with them. Yes, that's a great comment, Beth. I appreciate that. Your local unemployment office will have those kinds of connections. Your local chamber of commerce office will have those kind of connections. Take a look at the Chamber of Commerce directory for your local community. Talk to job placement people. Start going to, if you want to play in this arena, then you want to make sure. I say play in this arena. I take that too lightly. I'm not trying to make that lightly. But if you want to be in this arena, then you have to immerse yourself in it. You've got to get connected to people who have connections that can put you in the right places with the right folks. Vicky's asking the question about restaurants. Larger restaurants that have more than a handful of employees are going to have a need for some orientation, for some training, and for employee to collect all of the stuff that they need to collect and to keep them compliant. And so I've got some ideas that I'll share about that. I'm going to meet together with some of the folks that I have on my list here very soon. Some of you I've already talked to. Some of you I'll be talking to in the next day or so. Over the next 24 hours, I will make contact with all of the people who've indicated to me that they have a background in this arena, and we're going to collect together all of our input and all of the things that we have, all of the expertise, because we have an amazing group that has an amazing level of expertise. And so we're going to start leveraging that expertise to help build out this platform. Okay? Anything else before we call this good for the day? Has this helped you? Do you understand what you need to do? Because there's some things that you need to do in order to be ready to do this. Chad saying you can look up your local business registry. Chad Gilbert saying you can look up your local business registry on your .gov sites to get info. Yeah, use Google to your advantage. All right, I want to show you one more thing before we go here. And I just did a Google search a little bit ago for employee training. And this article came up. This is a great article. It's a great article. I'm going to copy this. And if I can figure out where to paste it, I'm going to paste this link in here so you'll have it. Okay? I don't know where to paste it. Can I just paste it here? I'm just going to paste it right there and see if you can do that. Okay, I'm going to send that to everybody. So y'all have that. Hopefully you have that. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. Can you see that link I just sent to you? All right, good. This is a great article. And this gives you some of the challenges that HR is looking at when it comes to employee training. Okay? This tells you some of the things that they're working on in this arena. How do I provide anywhere, anytime flexibility in my training program? You think we have a solution to that? It's a really good question, right? And so this is obviously offering a product, but man, you need to get to know what that product is. You need to figure out what are they answering? What problems are they solving? So this is a great little article, and you'll find a ton of these on Facebook. If you'll do a Google search in those areas, and we've got some keywords here. Micro learning, that's a word I hadn't thought about before. So you look for support for offline courses, and read this article carefully and see how many of those things that you can actually use. All right. You'll be surprised what you'll find. Susanna says that it gives me a better idea of what I need to do. That was what we wanted to do today, was to give you an idea of what you need to do, because you got to get ready. This isn't something that you just do immediately. You got to get ready to do this, and you got to make sure that you do it right. So Ted says you just did a search on LinkedIn and you have one first connection. Hey, that's a good place to start. All right. All right, let's see. Talk about the payouts, please. All right, Chad, I'm not really sure what you expected me to do here with the payouts. Let's see. The payouts. I can tell you what the payoffs are. I can tell you what the payoffs are. For every, if you have an employee that's being paid $10 an hour, all right? This is called dollarization. We do this all the time in sales. If you have an employee that you're paying $10 an hour, and it takes 3 months to get that employee up to speed so that he is as effective as the other employees on the line, and you're only paying him $10 an hour, you're not paying him $10 an hour. You're actually paying him closer to $20 an hour. You are taking somebody else's time to train them, and you're taking 3 months. If you can cut that window down, and you can do it without putting somebody else out of their job in order to do that, and you can automate the things that need to be automated and be able to focus your attention on the things that require somebody to be there, and you can cut that down from 3 months to 3 weeks, and you can do it on a platform that provides complete flexibility, can be done anytime, anywhere, then the dollarization of that isn't even $10 an hour. It's not $20 an hour. It's not $30 an hour, because you're paying somebody else to make sure that they get up to speed. So you got to take that $20 an hour, and then that's a manager usually that you're doing that for. So now we're going to add another 10. So we're now at $65 an hour for every hour that it takes to train that person. And they hire 15 people in a year. What kind of a payoff do we have? What kind of a benefit can you provide to that employer? It's a nice payoff, right? That's a nice bottom line benefit. So you dollarize that, all right? Dollarization. What value can I put on this training portal? Because everything's about a value trade-off. C-level managers get the value trade-off. They understand that if I can take $20,000 and save $60,000, I've done something very powerful, and I look really good, right? Let's see what Todd's saying about Seattle. Yeah, there's the business journal. Always use your business journals, man. Take advantage of the business journal for your local area. Tons of resources in that business journal. And every market has one. Every area has one. You know, right here we have Birmingham and Nashville and Huntsville, and we have several of them. So you take advantage of that. Okay, I get what you're saying, Chad. Thank you. I appreciate your clarification. This is big. This is not, you're now providing a service. And I mentioned this in the live feed earlier. You've moved from, an internet marketing profit where, I get an affiliate commission. You've moved from the affiliate commission to where you're now providing a service. And that service has a monthly retainer. That service has a setup fee. That service has a per employee fee. You have generated a recurring revenue that could be endless. So I've gone from making a 50% commission on a small dollar product to where I've taken that low dollar product, turned it into a service that I can get a recurring revenue of $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 a year over and over and over and over and over again. This is far bigger. And that's one of the things I wanted to share in the group. This is far bigger than an affiliate link. way bigger than that. And being a corporate hero will pay you a lot better than being an internet marketing hero. Way more than an internet marketing hero. Todd saying one agency license could generate $1 million in setup fees and $100,000 a month in recurring revenue. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to show you some ways to do that over the next, not, we're at the end of this week, but I mean, we start Friday, but we're going to be showing you how to do that. Okay. We're going to be showing you how to do that because I've got some ideas. Todd's got some ideas and some others have some ideas. And we're going to be sharing those ideas with you about how you can do the setup fees and the monthly recurring revenue way bigger than just the affiliate link. All right. Chad's asking if there's going to be some pricing outlines so we can get some ideas. Until you have the answer is yes and no. Until you have some idea of what that person's challenges are and what they need to have, it's difficult to put a firm price on that. I've got to know what I'm saving them in money. I've got to know what I can, how frequently they're going to need the platform. And I can tell you sometimes the secret's not building a site for every employer. Sometimes it's building a portal that multiple employers can use. And when you do that, man, you got it. Now, and we'll talk about how to do that. We'll talk about how to do that because that's what Todd's talking about here. One agency license, yeah. There's some ways to leverage that, maximize that, make that work in a way that you can't quite get your head wrapped around yet because this is way bigger, way bigger than. And Todd's added, we need to have some competitive analysis too. You got to know what you're up against in order to know how to properly price it so that you don't want to underprice it or overprice it. Okay. But this is way bigger. This is way bigger. You don't want to just be an affiliate marketer. You want to be a business. That's what Hans is saying, and he's right. This is way bigger than that. And I know, Tony, you keep asking the legal obligation question, and we're going to get to that, okay? We're going to get to that. Give us a chance to do that, all right? Remember, it's your business, though. You do have to understand it's your business. And so you have a liability that comes with that, and there's some legal obligations on you as well. So just make sure that you understand that. Anything else here? Let's see. Yeah, we're definitely going to give you a list of key questions to ask. I don't want you to start just asking questions. If you will start just asking questions, we'll get a targeted list of questions. But here's the problem. If I give you a list of questions, then you will approach it like an interrogation. And I don't want you to do that at this point. I want you to ask like your Gomer Pyle. Okay? You're just trying to find out. Where did you put that? See? That's what I'm after. Not necessarily Gomer Pyle, but you get my point. All right? Any other comments? Todd, Joanna, Derek, anybody that's on here who's had a lot of experience in this arena, anything that you would like to say, I will repeat it if you'll put it in the question section. Anything at all? Yeah, Carmen, don't quote me on the Gomer Pyle thing, please. Sometimes things slip out without me thinking about them too far in advance. Anything else, Todd? Chad, if you're still on, you have anything else you'd like to add to this? If not, we're going to wrap it up. Okay, Todd says nothing from him. What about Joanna? Joanna, I know it's getting late for you. Joanna has a lot of experience as an HR director. She can tell you an awful lot about that. Chad, you got something to say? Yes, I'll do my best to unmute you if I can figure out how to do that. Let's see here.
Okay.
Somebody want to come
Chad,
on?
you're unmuted.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
Boss, I think it's funny Bob's in there as admin and I'm not. It works for me. I need a break. Good presentation, man. I hope everybody gets it. Like, I'm really excited, where this is going, and like, this can grow into some very big things. I've been talking to quite a bit of members these past couple days as I'm learning more about their experience, and we've had some members that have closed some amazing deals. I mean, people who have worked with Sony, and I don't know. There was so many different companies out there, and so I've been taking them aside and talking to them and learning about different things, because this isn't really my market, but I learned how easy it was just to close, little local companies here too. And we're going to be teaching that, but understand, I had one member take me aside and he said, well, my comfort zone is going out there and closing like Disney and stuff like that. And that's like a $1.5 million contract. Do you have a problem if I go after that? I'm like, no, but I want to learn from you, and I want to, share this with the members. So understand, I think this is probably like one of the biggest things that you guys have ever been involved in, that I've ever been involved in. And, Eric and a couple other key members, we've been strategizing every single day and coming up with so many amazing different strategies for you guys, like the local events and, having the basic members line up local events and fill up those events using Facebook, and then flying, the key agency holders in that want to close that event and work out deals. Like, this is going to grow to be fairly large, and that's why I was really excited that you guys nominated Eric. He did win, the majority of the vote, and I was very, very grateful, because it's going to take more than me to bring you guys where I want to bring you. And I need, I have a very, very extensive marketing and business history. My history with businesses is, I've had companies in the past and everything, but it's not as extensive as, Eric and some of the other key people here. So it's important that, we respect them and we be open to their ideas, because we're going to take you places. Like, that's my promise to you. We're going to take this group places. And just like you heard Todd the other day, he said, normally I would have went and closed a $15,000 deal, but Chad kept shoving down our throat to go out there and ask for the money. And so, long story short, he asked for $40,000. The guy didn't have $40,000, but that's okay, because Todd was still able to bring in what he wanted, which I believe was about $15,000. But then he almost brought in like another $100,000, $85,000 or something on the back end. So he was able to make $75,000 just from being open and listening to, the advice that we give every day. And I want to keep doing that. But I really want Eric, and I know he's going to put together like a board, a board inside the group. I want to work very closely with Eric, and I want him closely working with the board. And so silently in the background, I'm a strategist, and we're going to keep coming up with strategies, and we're going to share those guys, because, yes, I saw the question earlier where somebody said, is your goal to bring in more agency holders, or is your goal to help us be successful? The ultimate goal is to help you guys be successful. And I would love for every single one of you, now think about the statement I'm about to make, to have to go out there and pay $100,000 in taxes a year. Do you know why that is?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that, Eric?
Because then we can do all kinds of cool stuff. Then we can add more product. Then we can build out the platform. Then we can add all kinds of stuff. Well, then we can do the regional events. Then there's all kinds of stuff we can do.
Correct. And when I say that to people, they say, are you out of your freaking mind? I don't want to pay $100,000 in taxes. And what I understand, is if you're paying $100,000 in taxes, is because you made 7 figures in a year.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's the kind of thing that I want to see here, guys. And I know that we have the platform to do it. I know it's very, very attractive to business, but I know it can be so much more attractive. So that's why Eric's reaching out to each and every one of you and trying to, figure out exactly what experience you have, what say you have, because your opinion matters. And I've been telling you this the whole time. Now you're starting to experience and you're starting to understand just how much your opinion matters, and we're asking you to help us build this out so that you guys are able to make the most money. So in addition to what everything that Eric taught you today, understand that we're going to be hosting more webinars where we're going to be talking about some of the features. And to me, it's a mastermind. You guys have a lot of experience. You're very, very intelligent. You're going to be the ones out there selling it. And you guys know, just, you know, from me being on live feed with you guys, we come up with ideas all the time right there on the fly, right on the live feed. And so we'll do these webinars where we can do screen shares and we can share some of the concepts, because I want you guys to be involved. Where, you know, there's only 89 license holders, and I consider that to be a pretty tight family. And the truth is, I bet, you know, probably 3/4 of them will be very, very active. And then there's a quarter that just went and bought it and just they're saving it for a rainy day, and there's nothing I can do about it. But the ones that are active, we want to do everything we can to help you succeed. So please stay in touch with us, keep up with the updates, and I know that Eric and Joanna and some of the other members are trying their best to get this all organized. There's a lot of excitement right now, a lot of success stories. You know, we're still, you know, have a lot of leftovers from the launch, so I understand everything is a cluster, but we're working frantically to get this all involved. So, and I'll just conclude on there, Eric, but thank you so much for your time and for doing this today. And I just wanted to thank Joanna in advance. Thank you so much for putting together that group to help them become certified, because I know that's a big play too. And we'll probably be starting the certifications here in about 2 weeks. That's about what I need, because I'm going to train somebody else to help me do them as well.
There
Cool?
you go.
Cool.
Thank you, Chad.
That's all I got.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, folks, I appreciate this. We're straight up on an hour now, and I promised myself a long time ago I wouldn't keep anybody over an hour on anything, and so I'm gonna keep that promise. But I really, really appreciate your feedback. I appreciate your input. Many of you have contacted me in a private message since the live feed that I did 2 hours ago, and thank you for doing that. I know that's going to help you. I'm looking forward to working with you, and we'll be in connection with you. I promise. I promise. I promise. This is going to be amazing, and you're going to be delighted with the payoff as you work through the challenges, because it has some challenges. Okay. All right. Telling me that I'm experiencing degraded audio, and so it's probably a good time for us to wrap this up. Thank you so much for being on today. We'll have additional webinars in the very, very near future.